Hey guys and gals, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the daily Roundup webinar. How's everybody doing? Just FYI, I've closed out a lot of my dollar, well, actually most of my dollar longs. Let me talk a little bit about this. So give me 1 second here. You guys all doing good? So we're going to do a little story time today too. Just I was Benedict in the chat room said he got stung by a bunch of yellow jackets, and it was so bad that he had to sell his house, move into a condo to get away from them. And I'm like, man, have I ever told you my B story? And he said no. I'm like, ooh, I got to tell you guys that one. So, but Benedict, so you guys know, he actually trades for an undisclosed bank in an undisclosed place. I just don't want to give away his personal information. He's been in our chat rooms I've been chatting with him for years, like 5-6 years, maybe. Really, I consider him a dear friend. Anyway, I was like, man, I can't believe I haven't told him the B story. I haven't talked about the B story. So I'm going to tell you guys here in a minute. It's just something, it's not really a big deal, but it was a big deal at the time. But let's first talk about the markets and what I did here. So, with the dollar rejecting like some of the triangle resistance right here, you see the dollar Canadian, just kind of rejecting triangle resistance. The euro finding support here at this channel support. Sterling probing through the lows, kind of bouncing here. Let me delete this stuff. Delete. So the Canadian's back up at that triangle resistance right now. Aussie finding some support here at the bias chart support, right? Dollar Mexican peso probed resistance, but really still has to break above 20. You can kind of see it backing away. I got out of my Rand. I did get out of my dollar Mexican peso longs, just so you guys know. I am trying to buy it overnight, and I'll talk to you guys why I'm trying to buy it overnight. But I got out of my Rand. I knew it was up against resistance here. 38% retracement was tested. It's been a big move. I mean, I did pretty well with this one. So I shorted the dollar yen. I could have stayed with it and kept the stops above today's highs, but I took that off just to get out of my dollar trades, especially with the stock market. Looks like it's going to bounce here. Again, key support. We're bouncing. And I'm going to talk about that here in a second. So this, for me, I'm trying to buy some dollars on dips. I'm going to try to buy the dollar Mexican peso a little bit lower. I'm going to try to buy the dollar Canadian a little bit lower. I actually think that the dollar Canadian is going to result in an upside break of the triangle. Okay, because really, what if I have to, be a little bit more particular about this analysis? We're either the highs are getting slightly higher, or you could say it's, basically even here, right? Something like this. But the lows are getting higher. So it's wedging, it's wedging out of the triangle. So I think it's actually going to break higher eventually. I think it's leaning that way, but I want to read you a text. I was texting with a buddy of mine. So, so this is some option price action for tomorrow for the S&Ps. Premiums on puts are really expensive, and calls are very cheap, right? Tomorrow we have 130,000 446 calls were traded versus 53,446 puts. So 121,500 448 calls versus 16,400 448 puts. So the way I'm kind of reading that with my buddy, we were just kind of texting back and forth, is that calls are extremely inexpensive, puts are very, very high premium right now. So this could be viewed as some options players just kind of offloading some of the calls for everybody else, and the put premiums are very, very high. So those are the ones that are going to pay, are the ones that you're paying more money for. So that is what I think after tomorrow morning, after 7 a.m., we're probably going to see a little bit of a move in the market. I'm assuming it's going to be lower following the options expiration. So therefore, I'm trying to buy some dollars today on a dip. Hopefully this strength in the equity markets at being elevated like this is going to pull down the dollar just a bit against some pairs, and I can get some better prices. So I basically booked some profits. I took a little bit of loss in the dollar yen because even though I was short at 109.60 average, I'm like, I don't know if I really want to be short if stocks continue to bounce. So I don't mind being short. I just, if the S&P bounces another 10, 15 points, dollar yen trade up to 110, possibly, I just don't want to, I don't want to deal with that. So anyway, just some food for thought with the S&P. I think tomorrow, the options expiration at 10 a.m. Eastern, that's going to be, where we possibly see some movement. So I'm trying to get prepared for that. Okay. One other thing, do you see this big bounce in the euro sterling? Big bounce here, false breakdown. We held above 85, barely. We held 85. Let's just put it that way. Almost hit my stop, and then it bounced. So hopefully, the euro sterling can close up near its highs. I'll be pretty bullish for this pair, and that's what I'm hoping for with that particular pair. Anything else? And gold and silver just looks like hell. They trade so heavy. Same conversation with my buddy that we were texting back and forth with. He's just like, what's up with gold? And I'm like, because he trades, but is not a trader friend. Just a really good friend of mine who does some trading on the side, some options work and stuff. But this isn't his profession. Anyway, he's long gold, and he's like, what's up with gold? And I'm like, while cryptos are in fuego, or in fashion, I just told him I think gold and silver are going to continue to underperform. So when does that switch flip? Probably when you see crypto markets come under pressure, you're going to see interest back into gold and silver. I just don't ever know if it's going to come back the way that people think. People believe, and again, this is my opinion. Doesn't mean anything other than it's my opinion. But you take the Steve and Stelioses of the world that believe gold's going to be a lot higher than where it is. I hope it is. I have physical that I would be totally happy with if it doubled from here. But from a trading perspective, I just in a real world perspective, I just don't know if that's going to be the case, at least not anytime in the near future. I just think that the interest from cryptos have really, really zapped interest from gold and silver. I do believe if crypto came under a lot of scrutiny, taxation, scrutiny from governments, blah, 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 gold would rip higher. I do believe that. I do believe that money would find its way back to gold. I just think while crypto is an option, it's just diminishing the desire to own precious metals. That's my opinion. Okay. Tom said level playing field will drive change. Yeah, that's potentially true. Jason said, your thoughts on dollar, CNH, and Aussie New Zealand. Well, I bought Aussie New Zealand today, as you guys should know. If you're in the chat room, you knew, and if you were on the morning edge, you knew, because I did talk about it. Let's go over to the Aussie Kiwi. Big support here, trendline support, 261% extension of this move, right? 261% extension, 127% extension here. Very divergent relative strength. So I'm willing to play it back up to 104. So I bought some. And I'm up 14 pips on my average. So, yeah, you kind of have to get a little bit more size with this pair sometimes. And, so I am, just because it's not a fast moving pair. I mean, it can be a fast moving pair, but once we got past all that data from yesterday, I'm fine being long. Other question was US dollar CNH. This is a pair that could really develop a big inverted head and shoulder pattern. Could be a triangle, symmetrical, big trend line here. Break above 650 would be very bullish. I mean, I think it's doable. I'm not long, but you start to see the US dollars. This is another. This is a way to look at the dollar CNH, and I'm gonna leave it at this because I have an interview with a new guy here in about 15 minutes. So I gotta make this quick so I can tell my story. The US dollar CNH, if you start to see the CNH weaken, obviously it's a managed float. So when you see the CNH weaken, it's probably a product of the PBOC weakening the yuan to be more competitive. So you can almost view it like a risk off barometer type of trade. So if it starts to really strengthen, tells you that China is a little bit more worried about economic activity slowing down, in China or anywhere else for that matter, where they have to be a little bit more competitive. So it's, we've got this big, weekly trend line kind of probe false breakdown. So, maybe this is actually better viewed as a diamond pattern. Oh, you know what? I'm going to tweet that. But I think I think Brent Donnelly wrote about it today. If my memory serves me correctly, I read it so early this morning. Hold on, let me see. It is. Hold on. Let me do this. Read this tweet. Diamond formation, false breakdown. He thinks it looks undervalued. It gets above 650. This thing's gonna squeeze, right? Yeah. Jason said, yeah, he did 650 target. Actually yesterday, sorry, 650 calls. He thinks money will leave China. Yeah. Catherine said, I think my WTI question disappeared off the screen. Steve thinks it's ultra bullish, but I wonder what will happen if stocks start to fall. Well, it probably will come under pressure, right? It probably will. So, if you're an inflationary hawk, then you think that prices are going to start to climb here. I would be worried. I'd probably be more worried about it. And then I'm going to tell you guys my B story. I'd be more worried about it back below like 70. So, if it stalls here, we make a lower high and then we break back below 70. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be long. That's just a personal opinion. Now I'm going to tell you my B story really quick. So, you guys can stick around if you want, but you don't have to. I'm going to make it quick. So I was 2 weeks before I got out of the Marine Corps, and when you're in the infantry or probably in the military at all, when you're 2 weeks away from being discharged, you got what we call short timers disease, right? So short timers disease is, I really don't give a flying rat's butt what you have to say about anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm just I'm just checking myself out, right? You're putting away, you're turning in gear, you're turning in make sure your rifle in the armory is completely clean, blah, 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 blah. And I was in the infantry, right? So I just was really, really ready to get the hell out. And it was 2 weeks before I was supposed to get out, and we're in Camp Pendleton, California. And we had like a week long multi-division operation, right? It was like a simulated beach amphibious landing with support from infantry battalions coming off flanking from the south, which was us. We had like tanks rolling in, amphibious tanks, hovercrafts, all sorts of crap, right? And my lieutenant comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, Corporal Morrow, you got to do this last, operation." I'm like, kiss my rear end. I don't want to do that crap, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, "You've got to do it." And I was just like, whatever. So I did it. Obviously I had to. So we're walking along this ridge line. It's like probably like 2:00 in the afternoon, sunny day in Camp Pendleton, California. It's in September. Walking along this ridge line. I've got my point man in front of me, right? My navigator next to me. I'm the squad leader. So I have like 13 people, grunts, right, behind me. I had point man up there, navigator with me. I've got a compass because we don't have, this is 1994. So I don't have navigation crap like that. That hadn't been developed. So we got like got map, compass, like, go this way, go that way, blah, blah, blah. So, and I'm like so not even wanting to be there. So we're on patrol, got the rest of the guys behind me. Navigator and I are like kind of looking at the map saying, "God, I think I need to be over here. We need to kind of be over this direction." And all of a sudden my point man was running towards us, right? Like hauling ass. He's like, "Bees." And we're like, my navigator and I are like, "Huh?" We look up we're looking at a map, right? An actual map. We look up, we're like, "What?" And then he just runs right past us, like, runs right past us. My rifle actually falls on the ground, like out of because I had it strapped over my shoulder. It falls, knocks it over. I mean, he's hauling butt, carrying all of his gear, pack and everything. And all of a sudden I said, "What is it? Bees?" And then all of a sudden you see this black cloud, like coming at us. No kidding. It was like a black cloud of like killer bees. So before I could eat, I look up and I could, looked at my navigator and I looked back, kind of figuring out what the hell he's screaming about. Bees are like on me, like they are flying in my flak jacket, behind my neck, up my helmet into my head, it literally felt like somebody had a bat, like a wooden baseball bat, and was just clobbering me over the head, because they're killer bees. They sting and they hurt. You know, it felt like somebody had a bat just bam, 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 hit me over the head, right? And I like ripped off my helmet. I'm like, obviously 4-letter words were going all over the place, right? I threw my rifle. I could care less. I ran, and I'm like, I'm telling the rest of the squad, like, bees, they're already hauling butt the other direction. My navigator and I are getting just pummeled by these bees. And finally we get back to the, Humvee, to our command post or whatever. And I remember my lieutenant coming, and very vaguely, my lieutenant coming up to me, and I'm throbbing. I've got like welts on my head. This is 2 weeks before I'm supposed to get out of the Marine Corps, out of 3rd Battalion, 9th Marines. I've got welts like all over the place. And he's like, Morrow, you all right? And I'm just like, and I let off on him. I mean, like, I could have got discharged dishonorably. I looked at my lieutenant. I'm like, and I started screaming, like, I shouldn't be here. This is shit, blah, blah, F-bomb this, F-bomb that. And then the doc came and had a big needle of whatever it was, hit me in the arm. And I was like, and another thing. And then I was out. Then I woke up with the doc, and back in the corpsman, back at base. Yeah, I wasn't too happy. Anyway, and then I got out. So that's my B story. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you guys later. I got to get on this interview, and good luck tonight. Just be careful with the options expiring tomorrow. See you guys later. Cheers. Bye.